Welcome to Sunshine Lost, a series focusing on individuals who disappeared throughout the state of Florida. I'm your host, Benjamin Thomas. This case covers the disappearance of Zachary Michael Cole Bernhardt, an 8-year-old boy who disappeared from his mother's apartment in the early hours of the morning of September 11, 2000, in Clearwater, Florida. The city of Clearwater is nestled in the middle of the Tampa Bay metropolitan area, on the west coast of Florida, otherwise known as the Florida Sun Coast. The Tampa Bay area is home to around 3 million people. Clearwater is a popular tourist destination within Pinellas County, with Clearwater Beach consistently reaching the top 10 list of America's greatest beach destinations. Pinellas County is the most densely populated county in the state of Florida, nearly 2 times the population density as the number 2 populated county. Over 26 million people visit the Tampa Bay area annually, which is about the same number of people as the entire population of Florida. Zachary was born on January 1, 1994, to Leah Hackett, a single mother with a troubled past. There's little known about Zachary's father. He was never involved in Zachary's life. Therefore, Leah gave Zachary her mother's married name, Bernhardt. Leah may have had a brief relationship with Zachary's father, or possibly a one-night stand before becoming pregnant. Zachary's father reportedly didn't even know of Zachary's existence until after his disappearance. Leah had moved numerous times from the time Zachary was born until they settled into the Savannah Trace Apartments on Drew Street in Clearwater, now known as the Standard, at 2690 Apartments, the apartment where Zachary would eventually disappear. Leah struggled with her personal finances, and she had difficulty holding down a long-term job. Leah enjoyed going out to bars and clubs, especially in the Ybor City, downtown Tampa area. Despite Leah's financial troubles and tendencies to go out drinking, Zach's teachers described Leah as being a very involved parent, and Zach clearly being her entire world. I personally have a direct connection with this apartment complex, as a close relative of mine used to live there. In fact, when Hurricane Irma struck Florida in September of 2017, I decided to ride out the hurricane in this very complex. At the time, I was living in a flood zone, which was under threat of storm surge flooding leading up to the storm, given the reason I decided to hunker down in my relative's second-floor apartment. I heard about Zach's case back then, as the local news tends to revisit Zachary's case each year on September 11th, but I didn't realize at the time that he disappeared in this particular complex. Sunday, September 10th, 2000. It was a typical day for both Leah and Zachary. That night, Leah and Zachary ate dinner while they watched TV. Around 11 o'clock p.m., Leah put Zachary to bed. He didn't want to sleep in his own bed that night, so she tucked him into her bed. Since Leah was accustomed to working third shift, she decided to stay up all night and ensure she would be awake to take Zachary to school the next morning. She continued watching TV late into the night. Time accounts vary, but sometime between 2 o'clock a.m. and 4 o'clock a.m., Leah left her apartment, unlocked, and took a walk around the apartment complex, taking a stroll to kill some time. She also allegedly took a brief swim in the apartment complex pool before heading back home. There are differing accounts as to how long she left the apartment, varying anywhere from 15 minutes up to 2 hours. More sources point toward 15 minutes, which would allow a very short window for Zachary to leave the apartment or for anyone to abduct Zachary from inside the apartment. After returning, she claims the air conditioning was on, making her feel chilly, so she took a shower. After freshening up, she stepped into her bedroom to check on Zachary and found her bed empty. She checked around the bed, thinking he may have either fallen out of bed or moved to the floor for some reason. He was not there. Growing increasingly nervous, she checked his bedroom and frantically searched the rest of her apartment to no avail. Leah placed a call to 911 at 4:47 a.m. During the call, she tells the dispatcher, quote, "I can't find my son. I went to the pool, and then I came back, and I got in the shower, and he wasn't here." The dispatcher replies with, quote, "And your door was unlocked when you went to the pool?" End quote. Leah said, quote, "I guess it was unlocked. Yes, it's my fault." End quote. More than 50 officers from 6 different agencies responded and began searching the apartment complex, as well as 1,250 acres of the surrounding area, including nearby streets, neighborhoods, woods, and lakes. They scoured the area on foot, with cadaver dogs, with golf carts, helicopters, and even wave runners. 60 search volunteers were dispatched to assist, along with hundreds of other people who also joined the search effort. Shortly after Zachary's disappearance, the FBI joined the investigation, but as far as we know, they were unable to provide anything substantial in the case. After spending multiple days scouring the entire area surrounding the apartment complex, not a single trace of Zachary was found. Absolutely nothing, as if he suddenly blinked out of existence. 2 days after Zachary vanished, Leah spoke to reporters for the first time from the front of her apartment, which she decorated with homemade paper flowers for Zachary, saying, quote, "Please don't stop looking for Zach, and please help bring Zach home. He's a beautiful boy, inside as well as out. Anyone who has ever met Zach has loved him. We miss him. We love him very much. We are all here waiting," end quote. After her brief statement, she returned to her apartment without taking any questions and didn't speak to the press again for some time. The spokesman for the Clearwater Police Department, Wayne Shillor, also made a statement, quote, "We have no reason to suspect foul play. There is no evidence of anything, no evidence he picked up and left, no evidence of anyone breaking into the house. Zach is missing and we don't know why. We don't know where he is," end quote. According to an article in the Sarasota Herald-Tribune, neighbors expressed doubt that Leah was home until her 4 a.m. walk. One neighbor said she saw Leah's car arrive in the complex around 3 a.m. the morning Zachary disappeared. Another neighbor claimed she noticed Leah's black Dodge hatchback was gone at 3:45 a.m. If both accounts are accurate, that would mean Leah would have arrived home at 3 a.m. and left again sometime before 3:45 a.m. Police were unable to receive any reports or witness accounts of suspicious vehicles or persons in the immediate area surrounding Zachary's apartment that night. A neighbor by the name of Deanna Williams, who had a daughter near Zachary's age, who Leah sometimes babysat for, was saying goodnight to her boyfriend at 3:45 a.m. and noticed that Leah's car was not parked in the building's parking lot. Deanna received a call from Leah around 5:15 a.m. asking if Zachary was at her apartment, to which she said no. Another neighbor by the name of Susan Dalton claims she stepped outside for a smoke and noticed Leah's vehicle pulling into the complex around 3 o'clock a.m. Leah, on the other hand, maintains the story that she walked around the complex and swam during the overnight hours. Lieutenant Michael Waylick spoke with the press and made a statement, quote, "Mom had stepped away from the residence for a while to take care of something, came back and found that her son was missing. That's very unusual. To be specific, he didn't even have a working bicycle, so to say somebody at 8 years old just gets up and leaves at 4:47 a.m., I think that would be outside the norm," end quote. Another interesting point that may be unrelated to Zachary, Leah was facing eviction from her apartment at the time Zachary went missing. Investigators believe Leah hasn't been as forthcoming with Zachary's disappearance as she has let on. They think there's information she's aware of that she hasn't disclosed to the police. Police learned of a man by the name of Kevin Jalbert who lived in the same apartment complex near Leah's apartment at the time. He confided in a friend of his that he was a child murderer, and his friend would later contact the authorities. Police decided to place an undercover officer in Kevin's vicinity in an attempt to befriend him to gather more information, which proved to be successful. They spent a great deal of time together. At some point, Kevin explained to the undercover that he had abducted and raped over 1,000 children and murdered 5. At some point during their quote-unquote friendship, Kevin drove the undercover into Zachary's apartment complex, pointing out the same building where Zachary lived, and said he kidnapped a child from there. However, when asked which apartment, he gave the wrong one. He also inaccurately described the clothing Zachary was wearing. which was just a pair of boxers at the time he vanished. During September of 2001, Kevin told the undercover he wants to cruise around and abduct another child for his sadistic pleasure. After the undercover took this information to his superiors, police decided to move in on Kevin and he was placed under arrest. His home was searched, which ultimately didn't turn up any direct information relating to Zachary. They did conduct a forensic analysis on his home computer, which turned up a series of sexually explicit websites involving horrific child abuse. The police also discovered that Kevin visited a local landfill just 2 weeks after Zachary disappeared, but they haven't released information relating to the reason why he went to the landfill, or what he may have disposed of. Kevin Jalbert's sister describes him as a chronic liar and an attention seeker. DNA was collected inside Leah and Zachary's apartment, including hair samples from Zachary's clothing, bed, and other personal belongings, hair that may have or have not belonged to Zachary. Even possible hair from a pet belonging to an intruder that was left behind, which has been discovered in other unrelated cases. Forensic investigators were also searching for different fibers, which may have originated from a variety of sources like vehicle carpeting, furniture cushions, and clothing. They also combed the apartment for organic material left by shoes from a location outside of Zachary's apartment complex vicinity, such as soil, leaf fragments, pollen, insect fragments, etc. But police haven't spoken in detail exactly what forensic evidence was collected during their investigation. Some of the forensic evidence that was collected in the apartment was tested against Kevin Jalbert. The results ultimately revealed no match. By that time, Kevin already denied to police that he had abducted Zachary and offered to take a polygraph test to determine if he had anything to do with Zachary's disappearance. He took the polygraph test, and he failed. Despite not matching DNA found in Zachary's apartment, police have still not ruled him out as a suspect. Kevin Jalbert is currently incarcerated by the Florida Department of Corrections on a 40-year sentence for multiple counts including sexual battery by an adult to a victim under 12, kidnapping while committing or facilitating a felony, possession of photographs showing explicit performance by a child, and producing, directing, and/or promoting explicit performance by a child. According to the Sarasota Herald Tribune, before Zachary's disappearance, family members of Leah have reportedly a missing on 2 separate occasions within 4 years of Zach disappearing. On one such occasion, Leah's daughter's father traveled to Florida from Michigan to spend some time with his daughter. They met off Interstate 75 in Hillsborough County, where Robert Jacques III picked up not just his daughter, but Zachary as well, because Leah asked him to watch them both while she went out that night. Rather than spending a few hours going out, she didn't get back in contact with Robert all weekend. So he contacted Leah's older sister, Billie Jo Jimenez, and they reported Leah missing to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Leah resurfaced that Monday, but by then Robert took off back to Michigan with his daughter, presumably leaving Zachary in the care of his Aunt Billie Jo. After leaving Florida, Robert appeared before a judge in Michigan who decided Leah's daughter should live with her father. After one of those instances, when she went missing, Leah agreed to hand over custody of her daughter, who's also Zachary's sister, to her father in Michigan. Exactly 1 year into Zachary's investigation, one of the biggest tragedies and acts of terror against the United States occurred. Both World Trade Center buildings were struck and leveled by U.S. airliners, which were hijacked by radical Islamic extremists, along with an airliner striking the Pentagon and a 4th plane crashing in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. During the 1-year anniversary of Zachary's disappearance, Zachary's aunt, Billie Jo Jimenez, made a statement to the press, quote, "Zachary's disappearance is something that you can't explain. It's a nightmare that just keeps going and going and going. And you try to remember to live each moment as if it were your last at the same time. We got a double whammy on 9/11, and it's hard enough just to get through this day as it is, but living it doubly with double devastation. Just don't forget about our missing kids. Don't forget about Zachary. Just keep looking for him. We never stopped looking for him. Keep his picture out there. Let him know that we love him. We miss him." End quote. Also in September of 2001, a photograph of a boy who was bound and bruised was discovered in a city market grocery store parking lot 55 miles west of Denver, Colorado, which bared a striking resemblance to Zachary. Despite the FBI's efforts to enhance the image, Zachary's family doesn't believe the boy in the photo is Zachary. Zachary's mother and grandmother said that the longer they looked at the picture, the less they were convinced it was Zachary. January 2002, Savannah Chase Apartments, the same complex where Zachary disappeared. A 5-year-old boy was playing in the apartment complex playground with 2 other children when he was lured by an unknown man to his vehicle, promising the boy ice cream. The boy got into the man's car and he drove away. Only the 2 children at the playground and no adults witnessed the boy leaving with the unknown man. He was abducted and driven around for over 10 hours before the unknown man decided to throw the boy into a dumpster 80 miles away from where he was abducted. Shortly after, a man parked his car nearby and heard faint screaming. He got out of his car and began following the sound, leading him to the dumpster where the 5-year-old was inside. He called 911 and the police arrived to rescue the boy. During this investigation, authorities believe the 5-year-old may have been sexually assaulted. They did look into the possibility of Zachary's case being linked to this 5-year-old boy, especially since both were abducted from the same apartment complex. Unfortunately, they were unable to make any solid connection, and to this day, they have been unable to link the 5-year-old's kidnapping with any suspects. Years after Zachary disappeared, a photograph of a drifter in Mexico emerged, receiving widespread attention online due to the resemblance of the man closely matching the age progression photo of Zachary. I tried digging up more information on this lead, and it appears that the identity of this man has never been uncovered. The image of the man was taken in Ocampo, Mexico. The man's photo caught the attention of Zachary's cousin, Amanda Kinney, who said, quote, "My heart stopped when I saw that picture, and not much has fazed me over the years," end quote. In 2020, Lieutenant Michael Wellick made a statement saying, quote, "So to say that nobody, at 8 years old, gets up and just leaves at 4:47 a.m., I think that would be outside the norm," end quote. Police stated that after all these years, photos, missing flyers, and even the age-progressed adult photo of Zachary has not led to any substantial leads. Leah has since changed her last name to Hackett and moved thousands of miles away from Florida, relocating to Hawaii. Zachary's father has remained out of the public eye and was never involved in the case, other than speaking with detectives in the days following Zach's disappearance. According to the website protectyourchildren.org, a security guard working in Orlando, Florida, met Zachary sometime between the end of 2015 to the beginning of 2016. He said he met a man named Tim, who was a supervisor at Lockheed Martin. He hired the security guard to build a small apartment inside his garage. While working on his property, the security guard claims he was introduced to Zach, who was mowing the lawn on the property with another man. He had a discussion with Zach regarding marijuana, to which Zach said he had a contact who supplies marijuana. Zach gave his number to the anonymous security guard, who then asked what his name is, and he said Bernhardt. Zach then said, "I shouldn't have told you that." When the security guard asked why, Zach replied with, "You haven't heard?" but didn't explain in further detail. He went on to claim that Zach was under duress by Tim, the property owner, because Zach owed him money. He didn't go into further information regarding Zach specifically, but mentioned he had a falling out with Tim and quit working for him. He then discovered Zach's disappearance while watching a TV show a year later. Clearwater police have stated that they are not considering Zachary as a cold case. They are hoping Zachary's mother, Leah, will come forward with more information, as they believe she knows more than she's provided. Despite Leah previously saying she has nothing to hide, Clearwater police would like to speak with her, but according to Lieutenant Mike Ogliarusso, she hasn't recently agreed to talk to police. He spoke with Local 10 News and said, quote, "Maybe it'll point us in another direction, or a direction for that matter. Right now, we are at a stalemate. I don't know if we called her a person of interest so much as we call her someone we would like to refocus the investigation," end quote. Zachary's mother, Leah, on the other hand, is quoted by saying, "They can call me no matter what, and I'll take whatever they have to give. I have nothing to hide." Setting aside the security guard's claims, which can't be definitively substantiated, no trace of Zachary has been found or revealed since the day he disappeared 24 years ago. The night Zachary vanished, Leah apparently left for her walk at 2 a.m. and said she was gone just 15 minutes, but she called 911 at 4:47 a.m. Leah's neighbor, Deanna Williams, claims Leah called her at 5:15 a.m. regarding Zachary. Assuming she placed the call to 911 immediately after, that still leaves 2.5 hours of time after she returned back home. If she did in fact leave the apartment at 2 a.m. for a 15-minute walk, rather than at 4 a.m. But the two separate neighbors who reported Leah's car missing from the apartment complex would have been more consistent with Leah leaving her home at 2 a.m. Assuming she left at 2 a.m., returned at 2:15 a.m., and took a long 30-minute shower after returning home, that still leaves 2 hours of time before calling 911. Why would it have taken so long for her to report him missing? It wouldn't have taken more than a few minutes to search her apartment, and she apparently didn't contact her neighbor Deanna until after calling 911. However, the time frame would favor Leah far more if she did indeed leave at 4 a.m. and spend 15 minutes away from the apartment, then took a quick shower, then called 911 at 4:45 after noticing Zachary missing. It just begs the question, why would one neighbor report Leah's car missing from the parking lot at 3:45 a.m., and a completely separate neighbor witnessing Leah driving into the apartment complex at 3 a.m.? One theory that was proposed was Leah giving Zachary sleeping medication to ensure he wouldn't wake up while she left to go visit a local bar. If so, he may have awakened, disoriented, and made his way outside, where he may have been abducted. His disorientation may have led him outside of the complex, where he may have either been abducted or strayed into a wooden area where he may have died from an injury, or by drowning, or by a predatory animal such as an alligator. Zachary was considered an excellent swimmer for his age, learning when he was very young, but if Leah gave him sleeping medication, that may have hindered his ability to swim if he found himself falling into a nearby body of water. Despite the possibility, police searched all over the vicinity of the complex and found no trace. There's also the possibility that some unknown suspect had been stalking Leah and Zachary with the intention of abducting him, and when Leah left the apartment unattended, he went inside and took Zachary. Despite this theory, police didn't find one trace of forensic evidence to corroborate this. Another theory is that Leah left the apartment complex that night with Zachary, and he was met with either foul play or given to another individual. What that person may have done with Zachary is anyone's guess. Perhaps they traveled to Colorado, where the photo of the boy tied up was discovered in a grocery store parking lot. Or maybe they traveled to Mexico to start a new life, and Zachary was eventually spotted as an adult in the city of Ocampo. Leah claims she moved away from Florida to escape the harassment, but anyone familiar with disappearances, especially among children, the parents tend to remain at the same address for years and years, hoping their missing child will return home. Not only did Leah move thousands of miles away from Florida, she even decided to change her last name, This doesn't necessarily mean she's guilty of anything. It's just unusual behavior from a parent of an endangered missing child. Zachary Bernhardt is the longest currently active Amber Alert in Florida's history. He is described as an 8-year-old Caucasian who excelled in his 3rd grade class. He has blonde hair and blue eyes. He was 4 feet 6 inches tall and weighed 60 pounds, and was wearing only boxer shorts at the time of his disappearance. He has 3 scars on his face, one on the bridge of his nose between his eyebrows, another on the right side of his upper lip, and another one under his chin. He has also been referred to as Zachary Michael Bernhardt. If still alive, Zachary would currently be 32 years old. If you have any information regarding the case of Zachary Bernhardt, please contact the Clearwater Police Department tip line at 727-562-4422 or the non-emergency line at 727-562-4242 and ask for Lieutenant Michael Hasty. Zachary's case number is 2000-255-17. You may also submit a tip to the Clearwater Police Department by email tips, TIPS, at myclearwater.com. Thank you very much for stopping by. Please be sure to like and subscribe on your way out, and until next time, stay safe out there.